Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode of The Grandstand, we're going to talk about how Democrats proved yet again why automatic disqualification from office are needed now more than ever in this country. And by that, I mean 20th Amendment of the Constitution, actually disqualifying these cocksuckers from office based on the shit that they're running on platform-wise and stuff like that. So they've never been allowed to run for office, whether it be anti-gun stuff, whether it be anti-life stuff, whether it be trying to literally sterilize children with HRT drugs and other hormone drugs and stuff like that and stop their puberties and everything else like that. So there was a video that came out recently from one of the congressional hearings where you had, I think it was a Kat Kamick or McCormick, something like that. I forget how to pronounce his name. She's the one from Florida, the blonde lady who's kind of overweight. She's a good rep, though, is what it is. Like, she's actually a good congresswoman from what I've seen, from the little bit I've seen of her do stuff. She's kind of like the female Chip Roy is what I would consider her at this point, honestly. And basically, she was trying to do a 5-minute, like they did the whole, like, yield 5 minutes or whatever, or, like, having 5 minutes to do whatever, that is what it is. And so she had this 5 minutes to do with what she wanted. And she's like, hey, I want to watch this video with everybody where this leftist doctor explains just what they're trying to push on these kids right now that would legitimately, if enacted, sterilize these children before they even went through puberty is what it is. And so what you ended up having was them doing that shit. And before they even were able to do the actual video and actually show the video to the people and stuff like that, you had a bunch of whiny-ass little bitch Democrats fucking throw a bunch of hissy fits and be like, oh, I'd like to fucking have an objection to this, and da-da-da-da. And eventually what happened was they were starting to show the video. These assholes, who, by the way, want to sit there and talk about the science and everything like that, yet it's a bunch of shit all the way around, dude, because, number one, the science on this stuff is not 100% concrete yet. Number two, we already fucking know what these drugs do, for that matter, because they use them to chemically castrate child molesters in a fucking prison cell. And so what you end up having is you have people who are these sick-ass demonic entities who want to call themselves Democrat congresspeople, who are okay with putting kids on sterilization drugs that will permanently stop them from ever reproducing in their entire fucking lives because they will never go through an actual puberty. You got these sick-ass motherfuckers in the medical industry who want to sit there and bitch and moan and being like, oh, it's okay, you can totally delay your puberty and then have it later on. No, you can't, you fucking lying pricks. You know damn well you can't do that shit, because if you do that shit, it's going to stop these kids from ever having puberty, and you're going to have a million fucking Jazz Jennings types walking around that can never have actual orgasmic release in their adulthood because of the fact that they've never gone through a fucking puberty in their teenage years. And so you stop them from ever having a sex life, period, let alone being able to reproduce ever in their lives. And the reason that I'm talking about this, honestly, most of the fact, is this is part of the bullshit that these fuckers here in Ohio are trying to push through in November underneath that bullshit abortion amendment, which, by the way, got the 413,474 votes it actually needed. Just barely, by the way. The weed amendment, by the way, they were trying to push through, that was a different kind of thing where it only needed like 1,000 people or whatever the case be. Was like 100,000 people or whatever. Failed by like 680 votes is what it was, or 679 votes, something like that. And it's like, yeah, you had people that couldn't even get enough fucking signatures for a pro-weed amendment to treat weed like alcohol. And yet, meanwhile, you just barely had the abortionists get the shit through, which, by the way, if issue 1, which we're voting on in 13 days from now, if that actually passes and becomes law, and Ohio becomes a 60% constitutional state, just like 41 other states across this union, you would actually have to also get 88 counties to sign on to your bullshit. And guess what? The fuckers behind the abortion stuff only got 65. And even then, pretty sure that the threshold for the actual votes would be upped a little bit in every single one of those counties. So it would have been less than that, actually. It wouldn't even been 23 that they would have had to deal with. It would have been probably more like half the state that would have told them to fuck off in general, because they would have never had the signature requirements in any of those counties is what it is. And yet you got all these dickhead leftists falsely claiming it's like, oh, well, one county can block the rest of the state. Good. They fucking should be able to, because guess what, assholes? You shouldn't be able to change a constitution of a fucking state or a fucking federal constitution. The literal documentation that our founding fathers fought and died for God's sakes, on a fucking whim, because you're too much of a bunch of goddamn fucking pussy-ass bitches to actually sit there and get good representation in a fucking state house, and then want to bitch and moan about gerrymandering while your fucking party does the worst kind of gerrymandering ever in the state, where they give themselves 10 to 12 fucking bullshit-ass districts in one fucking county because it has a major goddamn city in it. And that's the only reason there's over 30 Democrats in the Ohio State House right now. Because you have 10 Democrats down in Franklin County alone. You have another 10 or 11 up in fucking Cuyahoga County where Cleveland is. You got another 8 or 10 down in fucking Hamilton County where Cincinnati is. And then you got like 4 or 5 from Dayton, 4 or 5 from Toledo, et cetera there. Instead of having one county, one rep. And what's even worse is now you got Ohio governors coming out and being like, oh, issue 1 might actually fail. And it's like, you know what? At this point, I kind of hope it does. Because you know what's going to fucking happen then? I will legitimately be motivated like a motherfucker for 2 reasons. Number 1, to sue the fuck out of abortionists in this goddamn state, starting with those fuckers in Planned Parenthood that are behind that fucking abortion amendment in November. And number 2, to get one county, one rep legislation to pass by 50% plus 1 vote very fucking easily. And I guarantee if that happens, dude, you're going to see a huge fucking shakeup in this state, because you're actually going to see a complete redone of this whole entire state. You're going to see the bullshit 2-party primary system completely thrown out the fucking window underneath that amendment. And you're actually going to have America and the state of Ohio be made great again, be made awesome again. And we're actually going to have multiple people getting into office that aren't Republicans, that aren't fucking Democrats, that are actual third-party candidates. Internet libertarians, Green Party, Cyber Party, fucking Constitution Party. Hell, even on the left side, it would be fucking, you know, basically Hitler Party, is what they want to call themselves at that point. More or less, it's like communism, socialists, and stuff like that, whatnot. Democrat, Socialists for America, whatever the hell they want to call themselves now. So, yeah, it's a bunch of fucking shit, dude. I think I talked about this like a year ago, actually, with the whole red flag crap when it passed there. It was the BS that passed in that quote-unquote Safer Communities Act they shoved through after the Uvalde false flag. And, yeah, it's basically, it's not even just a bribery scheme. They're stealing taxpayer money to do that. It's the fucking DOJ using taxpayer dollars to try to bribe states to pass unconstitutional red flag laws through. And it's absolute crap entirely, dude. Because, again, this is something that we've talked about on the channel before. Red flag laws should have been deemed unconstitutional well over a decade ago. It's honestly, truthfully, it should have been, you had, I believe it was Connecticut, after Columbine in 1999 passed the first one or whatever, and then there wasn't a state that did anything else after that until roughly like 2018 when you had the Parkland false flag is what it was there. And then you had a bunch of states get on board and start passing red flag laws unconstitutional is what it was. But the whole point is, back in like 2000, you should have had a lawsuit back then in Connecticut that went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court back then should have declared them unconstitutional back then in like 2001, 2002, honestly. Maybe 2003 at most, actually. But the problem was, obviously, that didn't happen because, A, you had 9/11 happen, and then, of course, you had the fallout of that, which is all the, you know, forever wars for like 20 years is what it was there. So, yeah, it's just a bunch of shit entirely. But anyway, I'm just fucking over all of it, man. I really am. And then you had some debate last, like, this is what I think is fucking retarded, honestly, too, by the way. So you had a debate last night on one of the local channels here, for one of the news stations, which was supposed to be 2 pro-issue 1 people and 2 anti-issue 1 people. And instead of just getting, you know, 4 random people, which would have been people like me, you know, everyday citizens here being like, hey, you know, got 2 yes voters, we got 2 no voters, and you have these people just debate for like, you know, half hour, whatever it is. I'm assuming they didn't do that because obviously it would have gone off script like crazy probably. So what they do instead, you had Secretary of State Frank LaRose on the pro-issue 1 side, along with Michael, I forget what the guy's last name is. It's like something with a G. It's very hard. It's like some Polish name or something, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like a ski, but I'm not sure how to pronounce it, is what it is. I'm not going to like bastardize the guy's name. But he's the dude that's behind Ohio Right to Life is what it is. And so you had those two. Sorry, internet decided to take a shit there. But yeah, so you had LaRose and that Michael guy on the pro-issue one side, and then you had Democrat rep and known criminal Allison Russo, who should have been in prison over 2 years ago for the bribery she took directly from Moms Main Action with that big fat envelope full of cash back in May of 2021. You had her be the first person, and then you had some douchebag who was like the ex-editor-in-chief at the Columbus Dispatch, one of the biggest fake newspapers in this entire state right now. And it's I'm not sure if that was that Daryl Rowland guy or who that dude was. But either way, it's like, yeah, you had these two fucking douchebags over there trying to be like, oh, this is why Ohio should have one person, one vote, and da-da-da-da. It's like, bitch, you literally led a fucking insurrection at our state house less than 6 months ago. You led what can be defined legitimately by textbook definition an insurrection on the Ohio House floor back in like March of this year because you were bitching and moaning about how, oh, it's fucking bullshit that we're having an August election now, and then you pull out your stupid little fucking vote no sign things, which that alone should have seen her and like 20-something other state reps that were all in that little group that day fucking tossed out of office immediately on that point, dude. But that's the problem with Ohio right now. You got criminal pieces of shit like Jason Stevens who fucking jerked off Allison Russo to get the entire Democrat Party vote to get his ass in this fucking speakership right now. So of course he's not going to sit there and be like, gavel this bitch down and toss her fucking out of office with the rest of her damn party. And that's the problem with Ohio's corruption right now. And I think that's, honestly, I think that's the main reason why you haven't seen every single Democrat across the fucking aisle at this point tossed out of office with a 2/3 majority vote right now, having every single Republican lockstep currently, is because they know for a fact, at least a handful of them anyway, the higher up ones, your Jason Stevens types, your fucking probably Bill Seitz would be another one I'm guessing because he's like a leadership guy now or whatever. And he's definitely fucking got some shitty shit on his ass. So he probably should be in jail for it now. And a bunch of the other guys, they're like second, third, fourth term people now right now. I guarantee you, if the Democrats went down, these rhino ass motherfuckers should go down with them is what it is. And they all should, honestly. And that's, again, why if issue 1 does not pass and give us a 6% threshold in 88 counties having to sign off on amendments and stuff like that to our state constitution, I will legitimately put through one county, one rep with other legislation mixed into it that would, number one, enforce term limits retroactively, and anybody that's jumped our fucking state house and state senate for the last year or two would all be booted the fuck out of office immediately. Then on top of that, you would actually have a complete change up where you would have one county, one rep, and you would have, for every 4 counties, there would be one state senator now. So you'd have 11 other jackasses be tossed out of our state senate then. And we actually have better representation overall then is what it would be. Because you actually have people understand that, like, yeah, it doesn't. And the problem I have right now is how they district our state anyway, because they're like, oh, well, there's this many people in Ohio. Let's go ahead and just split them up by like 100,000 something a piece is what it is. Or you could just, I don't know, fucking put a district here or put 4 districts here as a state senator and stuff like that. It doesn't matter how many people are represented by you, dude. Or you're representing over, I should say. You just happen to be that many fucking counties that are underneath your belt at that point. And the same thing with one county, one rep as well. It doesn't matter if your county has 1 million people. It doesn't matter if it has fucking 25,000 people in it. It honestly doesn't. However many it is what it is. And that's who you're representing at that point. Because that's the whole point, I think, entirely with politics, is that they don't want you to know who actually represents you. Because that way you can't fucking hold these cocksuckers' fucking feet to the fire and actually hold their damn asses to fucking account right now. And it's the same kind of bullshit there in Congress, where you had these fucking asshole Democrats literally get up and fucking walk out of a hearing while they were discussing child mutilation, dude. While they were discussing child sterilization. And I'll be damned if I let that shit get through in November here in Ohio, dude. Let them copy and paste fucking Michigan's bullshit for a ballot initiative here is what it is. Fuck that. Like I said before, the fact that the Ohio Board of Elections even allowed that through as a single amendment when it was at least 2 to 3 different things on that, if not 4 even. No, it should have been at least 2, if not 3, possibly even 4 different ballot issues. Because obviously one should have been about abortion. One should have been about fucking child transitioning. A third one should have been about parental rights. And a fourth one should have been like an overall thing for it, what it would have been. So, anyway. And of course, you got them sneaking gun control into military spending bills and stuff like that. Apparently, I guess we're doing UFO hearings now, too. Which is pretty interesting. Yeah, I love again how the Ohio subreddit is supposed to be about like events and stuff going on here, but yet every single fucking post on that site for the last month or so is all anti-issue 1 shit except for a couple. Like this one. 4 governors speak out against issue 1. Oh, you mean 4 criminals, including scumbag John Kasich, who is the main reason why we have a 2-party primary system right now, because his bitch ass in 2013, over a decade ago, had some bullshit fucking thing pushed through by a majority vote, which was literally a 50% plus 1 vote in the state house, because he couldn't get the supermajority is what it was back then, to allow his criminal ass to do 2-party primaries so he would never be defeated in the general elections, what it would be by some third party. Yeah, bunch of scumbag bullshit, dude, entirely. And the thing is, like, I love how they're like, oh, all 4 stand opposed to issue 1. Again, nobody fucking cares because they're ex-governors. They hold no power here, dipshits, number 1. And number 2, even if they did hold power here, guess what? They're all fucking put in somebody's pocket. They're all taking fucking money. They all got a fucking paycheck to come out against issue 1. I guarantee you fucking Bloomberg and Soros made the main 2 fucking globalist piece of shit fucking billionaire criminals that are against issue 1 right now. I guarantee they walked up to him and were like, how much do you want in this fucking check? And they're like, oh, give me $10 million in a fucking house. Here's $10 million. There's your fucking house. And that's what it took to fucking bribe these pieces of shit to fucking be against issue 1. It doesn't take that much to do something when you're already a fucking career criminal, dude. And that's, again, the problem with the career politicians in this country, you know? We kind of had this talk last night on Honda's chat a little bit, where he was discussing, like, a one-term thing or whatever for everybody across the board. The thing is, like, I don't know how that would even work is the issue, though. Because it would be like, because to me, the way it almost would sound like is it's like, okay, you're potentially running and holding a governorship for X amount of years, or you're running and holding a state rep seat for like 2 years or whatever the case be, and then you could just never run for office again. Like, I'm just thinking about that from a perspective of like just how many legal challenges that would be, honestly, because you would have to completely change the U.S. Constitution at that point then, and have a complete convention of states to do that, honestly. So I would almost say it's more like something where it would be, like a 4-year maximum for anything is what it would be. So it's like, yeah, if you want to run for a state rep for 2 terms or whatever the case be, a 4-year block, or a state senator for the same amount of time, or a governor for the same amount of time, or the presidency, or, federal rep or whatever for 4 years or whatever the case be. It's like, yeah, you can do that stuff, but then you're gone after that time is what it is. Or like a sitting U.S. senator, it'd be like 1 term, 6 years is what it is. And then you're just done. And I think that would be the easiest way to do it, honestly. The problem right now, honestly, and this is what the issue really comes down to being, honestly, because the thing is, like, I've talked about this before, honestly, running for governor and stuff of Ohio in 2026. It would take me at least 7 years to fix this state entirely as a sitting governor. I would be able to do a lot in the first 3.5 to 4 years of my governorship, but I would definitely need a second term to make sure that the state remains constitutional and stuff like that all the way through, and be able to implement enough shit in that time to be able to get everything done that I'd want to get done, to not see the state get fucked over again by corruption and stuff like that. And so honestly, if I was to be a sitting governor myself, I would need that 2-term, guaranteed limit right now, which would be from obviously, 2026 to 2034 is what it would be then. And at that point, then I would just never be anything after that ever again. I would go back to being a civilian. And my plan right now, obviously, would be, next year I'm going to hopefully primary this sitting county commissioner right now, hold that position of power for a couple of years, and then use that to do a governor's run in 2 years is what it is after that. So it's 2024, hopefully become a county commissioner, and then 2026 become a sitting governor, hopefully. if we're actually still a functioning country by then, is what it is. Because right now, I don't think we're all going to be. I think we're definitely going to be going through some trials and tribulations in the next year and a half or so. And I would not be surprised in the least to see us balkanized by then. And that's the thing as well. It's like, yeah, if you're going through all that turmoil, like, you know, would it be worth it to even do that then? So, and the thing is, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, dude, do I really want to be in politics? No, I really don't. The entire thing I've seen, though, is with the corrupt criminality going on currently, it's like, why wouldn't I want to get in there and change that then? You know? And that's the entire point, is to be the fucking change, is to actually do something constitutionally, get in there constitutionally, change the fucking rules, change the fucking book, you know, tear up the old fucking book, throw it in the trash, throw it in the fucking fire pit, whatever the case be, burn that motherfucker to ashes, and bring in a brand new thing that's completely based on the U.S. Constitution and state constitutions and stuff like that, and be able to do something correctly and actually make this country a great nation again, because that's the thing. America should be great, you know? We should be the greatest nation on earth. But then you got fucking asshole pieces of shit like Joe Biden the other day coming out and being like, oh, America should be good, but we should also basically be a globalist. And it's like, fuck you, cunt. We all know your husband's a cheating piece of shit in general. We all know you helped cheat his ass into fucking office in 2020. The fucking records are there. We can prove that shit. The fact that either one of these fucking people is still sitting free to this day is absolute bullshit entirely. The fact that Kamala Harris is also still walking free as well, for that matter, is absolute bullshit, because her and Biden should both be tried with high treason at this point for stealing a fucking presidency / vice presidency. Joe Biden should be tried as an accessory both before, during, and after the fact, because she helped them do it. And a bunch of other people should be tried on that one as well, for that matter. So yeah, exactly. And that's the entire point. And the problem is, though, and that's the thing, I think Matt, honestly, he could be something great. Like, if he actually wanted to take down like the Texas governorship, I think he could pull it off, honestly. Or something, maybe not even the governorship, but like being a Texas state rep or something like that, or a Texas state senator. He could easily run for that office and win. But that's the thing, he doesn't want to, you know? And that's kind of an issue, I think, honestly, with a lot of people. And it's the same thing with a lot of people in the gun community, for that matter, as well. It's like, yeah, dude, like, I get you guys don't want to run, but that's exactly why you should run. Because it should be us. It should be the gun owners of this fucking country, the people that actually give a shit about the Second Amendment, dictating laws, making states and the federal government more pro-Constitution, more pro-Second Amendment. You know, if you give a shit about life, you should be running for office, because you should be running on a pro-life platform and doing away with abortionist measures, doing away with child murder measures and stuff like that in all these states. And I'm not saying, you know, we should force people to like be like Handmaid's Tale shit where you're like forcing pregnancies and stuff like that. But it's like, no, dude, you have a better education structure where you're actually teaching these kids from younger ages about actual safe sex and stuff like that. I'm not saying like, you know, go to a fucking second or third grade class and go into like graphic detail about sex education, but no, you do age appropriate stuff like that. And you teach these kids, you know, the birds and the bees talk and stuff like that, maybe like first, second grade, whatever the case be, like very, very, you know, whatever, like minuscule stuff or whatever. And then by the time they're like, you know, third, fourth, fifth grade, whatever the case be, and they can understand a little bit more, then you actually give them a real breakdown of stuff and you teach them properly about protection, about using protection during sex. And that's the biggest problem right now. And I think that's the biggest problem across the board, honestly, especially with public education in this country, is you have these kids that come up, you know, 8, 10, 12 years old, whatever it is, never get proper sex education in their, you know, middle school age years and stuff like that. And then they want to fuck around and stuff like that. You know, don't use condoms, don't be on the pill, nothing like that. Or even if these chicks are on the pill for that matter, they don't use it properly because they'll do it any time of the day instead of actually realizing that, hey, if this is going to be effective, it's got to be 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. like every single day, whatever it is there. or 12 p.m. every day or whatever it is. Then it has to be a set schedule where you take it at the same time or roughly around the same time every single day so that it remains effective and you cannot get pregnant during that whole thing. And so you actually teach these kids proper sex ed, and they're not going to go around fucking around and have a bunch of kids, you know, early and out of wedlock and stuff like that. And you're actually going to be able to have a better society than is what it is, because you're going to teach proper things is what it is. And that's, I think, what the whole problem is. You've had an entire generation, you know, raised by the fucking streets, raised by the fucking dumbass leftist indoctrination centers that is public education at this point. And then you wonder why we're so fucked as a country right now. You wonder why people are so fucking dumb that they're going to sit there and vote against their own interests when they're voting no on things like issue 1 here in Ohio. And in reality, all they're doing is literally handing our fucking state to globalists like Michael Bloomberg and other anti-gunners like that, George Soros, etc., dude, that want to do nothing except put us all against the fucking wall. They want to literally destroy humanity, dude. They want us all dead in a fucking mass grave, just like Nazi Germany, just like Soros was a fucking collaborator in, for God's sakes. That man single-handedly sent thousands of fucking people to their deaths so that he could steal their fucking wealth and accumulate it into his own. That's who George Soros is, man. That's by his own admission in a 60 Minutes review in like the late 2000s there, like early 2010, someplace in there, is when he did that interview. So it was like 12, 15 years ago, something like that, is when he gave that interview and basically admitted his fucking war crimes. The guy should literally be in modern day Nuremberg trials right now. There should be an international arrest warrant for him in every single nation across this earth currently. And the fact that there's not is everything wrong with the planet pretty much right now, with every single world leader across this fucking planet, because most of them, unfortunately, again, are puppets of Soros and other Bilderberg members for that matter. So, yeah, it's a bunch of shit, man. It's really fucking annoying. And the real issue comes down to being, again, it goes back to something I've said before with career politicians in this country. When you got absolute power corrupting absolutely, it's like, yeah, dude, you got all these people that want you to fuck off is what it is. And then you wonder why they're such criminals and stuff. And it's like, yeah, because you've allowed them to accumulate power forever. And that's another thing too, by the way. There was a CNN interview done at some Walgreens here in Nancy Pelosi's district there in San Francisco recently. And in a half-hour time span, they witnessed 3 different people stealing shit from that fucking Walgreens. And we're like, oh, I guess it is rampant criminality going on here. Meanwhile, Pelosi herself doesn't even live in her congressional district. That bitch lives in a gated mansion miles and miles away. Which is, again, something else that should be an automatic disqualifier from office. If you do not live in your congressional district that you represent, you cannot hold that office. Because it would be both Pelosi and Maxine Waters would be tossed out of office immediately on that one, because neither one of them lives in their congressional district. The congressional district that Maxine Waters is supposed to represent is basically Compton, California. Yet, meanwhile, just like Pelosi, she pretty much lives in the same gated neighborhood there that's all armed security everywhere. In some gated fucking mansion. And it's like, yeah, neither one of these old cunts should be in office right now. Dude, they should have been in office fucking 20 years ago. When they literally both helped pass the assault ban in 1994, dude. That should have been their last final days in office when they got busted for deprivation of color of law and high treason against the American people. And they should have been locked off in handcuffs to a fucking jail cell, honestly. And the fact that they weren't is absolute bullshit again. And again, it goes to show exactly the fuckery going on in our country for my entire damn life. But that's the thing, right? When you're a kid, you can't really do anything because you don't have any power. You know, you don't really have any ability to actually speak out and have, you know, voting power or anything like that. But now as an adult, we have these kind of powers, man. We have this ability to run for office ourselves because we are of age. We are able to do this stuff. We have the ability to make grassroots reality and actual grassroots candidacies and stuff like that. And eventually we can take down the seats of power if we wanted to. And that's the biggest thing right now. And that's what they're scared of. That's exactly why the globalists who are old as fuck right now, you know, geriatrics and stuff like that, in a lot of cases, either silent generation or way, way old baby boomer generation is what it is. They are so scared right now because they know that they are losing that grasp on the ring. They know they know for a fact that they're about to have their hands slip off that ring of power, and they're just going to be an old motherfucker then. And that's why they're scared, and that's why they don't want to hear and actually debate the actual science behind kids being potentially sterilized by hormone drugs. And would rather sit there and just walk out. And it's like, you know what? That's fine, dude. Walk out and keep fucking walking, cunts, because you don't have a fucking job anymore. And that's what needs to be done to these fucking people, dude. The second you walk out on a congressional hearing like that, dude, you're fucking done. You are gone from office. And potentially, that entire district is now gone, too, for that matter. You know? You redistrict the fucking state entirely then. And fuck that entire seat of power is what it is, dude. I've said it before, I'll say it again, man. Honestly, if we wanted to have true representation in this country, you would have every single state across the board right now have 5 congressional districts in it, and that's it. And you would have the whole 270 thing that used to be to get the presidency. You'd have that down a little bit as well, because it would be less congressional districts and things to actually do the whole electoral college thing as it would be then. So it'd be more like about probably like 220 or something like that to actually get the presidency then. But the entire point of the matter is you would have people who would actually be able to have more power then, because you have states like Wyoming or Montana or something like that only has 1 congressperson from it. And then you have states like California have 50-something. That is not true representation, dude. That is completely a lopsided, gerrymandered bunch of bullshit entirely there. Because again, you're having these states do population density BS instead of just being like, it doesn't matter how big your population is, dude. You get this many and that's it. And you have it actually broken. I've broken it down before on this show. I'll break it down right now actually again. Because fuck it. Basically, this is how it would go. Every state would get 5 Congress people from it. Of those 5, you would have 1 of them come from the state capital area of that fucking state. So whether it be a Columbus, Ohio, or whatever the case be in any given state there, you know, where the actual state house resides is what it is where the state capital is. You would have 1 congressional district in that particular area, so you're guaranteed like 1 blue seat from every single state like that is what it would be. And then you would have 4 others that would be out in various areas of a state, usually in rural areas of a state is what it would be. Or if you would have something where you'd have like, you know, like here in Ohio, we got, you know, 4 or 5 different major cities. So it'd be like, you'd have Columbus would be 1, and then you'd basically have Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dayton, Toledo, Akron, and Canton. So there'd be 6 different cities there fighting over a second seat. They would all be able to have their own sets of like double primaries, would it be, where you have them having their own primaries at a basically city level is what it would be. And then those ones would move up to a second set of primaries for a state level is what it would be. And whoever wins that, you know, particular primary for that party or whatever, they get to represent that whole thing for that general election. Same thing with the other side of the ticket, and anybody will be third party people and stuff like that. And then eventually you'd have all people like that square off. You know, those 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, whatever it is for third parties and stuff, square off in a general election, and whoever wins that particular election then would become your technical rep for federal Congress. And yet, meanwhile, if you have a state that only has, you know, 1 major city in it, and it's just like a bunch of rural area, then guess what? You got 1 major city there for that 1 rep, and you got 4 others for your, you know, federal congressman is what it would be then. So it would be better off overall, I think, in general, because we would actually have true representation again in this country. You'd actually be able to have people that have voting power again. You wouldn't have rural areas getting fucked over like crazy. You wouldn't have these so-called flyover states get fucked over in various presidential races, because you would have to have these presidential candidates go to every single state then. You'd have to have them make stops in all these states then to actually garner support. It wouldn't just be, oh, let me go to California or Florida or New York or whatever the case be that has like the most congressional seats that I can win there. It'd be like, nah, bro, you're going to this state and 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 this state in like a fucking 6-day time span or whatever the case be. And you just be driving around America on a bus and shit like that for a month of your life or whatever then to go visit a bunch of states is what it would be. And you do various campaign stops and various speeches and stuff like that in all these states. And we'd actually have better candidates when it's all said and done. And that's the problem right now. We have shit-ass fucking candidates in most cases because we are allowing, first of all, the dumbest fucking people possible to even run for office. Pieces of shit like Maxwell Frost, the dumbest fucking cunt from Gen Z, who literally couldn't even afford to pay his fucking fees to run a campaign, so he put the shit on credit card debt, which alone, in of itself, by the way, should have been disqualified from fucking office, number one. And number two, a second disqualifier from office was the fact that he was running on an anti-gun and anti-life platform. That little fuckstick David Hogg's buddy from March for Our Lives, the fact that he had direct ties to an anti-gun group should have been a disqualifier on the fucking spot right there. That little fuckstick should never been allowed to run for office, let alone run in a district that's basically right in downtown Miami, Florida, that is so gerrymandered blue, there was never going to be a red candidate or anybody else for that matter winning that fucking seat. And that's the problem with gerrymandered fucking districts, dude. There would be no gerrymandered districts because you would have legitimately, you'd have like everybody be known at that point. It'd be like one here is known for a fact to be blue, and the major city thing is what it would be. And then you'd have these 4 outliers that would all be red areas and stuff like that, or other like third-party candidate areas would it be then. So, anyway, that's about it for today, though. I'll be back tomorrow for Buckshot Thursday. I'll be doing a panel again for that, obviously. Corey's already said he'll be on the panel tomorrow. If anybody else wants to jump on the panel, I'll give the StreamYard link when we start the chat. Pretty much, I plan on doing, I actually would like some people on the panel tomorrow. Have like at least a couple others too as well for that matter, because we'll be doing this around probably somewhere between like 3 and 4 o'clock tomorrow. Probably closer to 4 is my guess, honestly, at this point. Well, depending on exactly when I wake up tomorrow and then get the shit going is what it'll be then. But yeah, basically my whole plan for tomorrow is I want to start doing a scenario thing every single Buckshot Thursday from now on. Obviously, one of them would be, you know, grid down, like what gun you grab in between like a couple of guns kind of thing. But then we do other stuff as well in the future for like, you know, kind of like active shooter things. Like maybe just do like scenario drills and stuff like that. So it would be like the Rittenhouse drill or like the Dickens drill or something like that, where it would be, you know, you're in Kyle Rittenhouse's situation. What do you do? You're in Eli Dickens' situation. What do you do? Anybody that we know for a fact in the last few years that stopped like basically a massacre from happening or has protected themselves with the Second Amendment kind of things would be there. You would praise these people, rightfully so, because they are heroes. They stopped, you know, criminality from continuing on. And especially in Eli's case, where he stopped an active mass shooter is what it was. And you'd actually be able to, you know, step into their shoes, and it's like, what do you do in this situation? How do you respond? You know, can you make that shot, et cetera, kind of thing it'll be. So, anywho. But one of these days, I'm going to start making hats that are my own design for Ohio and stuff like that. I want to make, obviously, one kind of like the mega hat, but it'd be like a Hot Picture Education Network across the brow of it. And then we'd also do some other stuff that would be about Ohio and stuff from our potential governor's run in a couple of years. So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a website yet for that. So I'm still looking for that right now. Still working on the possible Teespring thing, or maybe not Teespring, but like some on-demand printing site or something like that for like apparel and stuff. So I will be making some new designs and stuff. I'm actually going to go back to Bonfire here one of these days soon. I haven't gotten a chance to do that yet, but I want to go back on there and start doing some design stuff. And I'm going to make some new designs on that site and stuff like that. So if nothing else, I'll start putting that link in the underbar thing, if that be the case for future episodes and stuff. But anyway, the problem with Bonfire, though, is I have no idea what the threshold is to get paid out. And I know for a fact only a couple people have bought stuff from the site so far, so I don't know exactly how much it would be until I can get a paycheck from those people. So I'd kind of like to look into some more people as what it is right now and find out exactly what it would be and how much the threshold would be to get a payout, basically. And then work with some other site that would be like on-demand printing and be able to do better stuff there. Maybe make the prices of things a little bit cheaper is what it is, because unfortunately with Bonfire, they are way overly priced for what they actually give you. And even for what the prices I have to put on there for just to make a little bit of money, it's not enough, dude. Like when I'm sitting there and having them do on-demand printing and it's like a $25 shirt and I'm making legit like $2 to $3 profit off of it, like that's ridiculous. I should be making at least 10 at that point, man, for real. And the fact that they're charging, you know, $22-23 to make a shirt is fucking ridiculous in general. So that's one reason why I definitely want to find another on-demand printing place that's like a lot cheaper, whatever the case be. and can actually make some real money off that and not just have it be, hey, here's like $35-$40 for this thing and I'm making like $10 off of it because of that. It's like, no, I want to be able to charge as little as possible for people that want to support the network and everything else like that and support my, future run and stuff like that for office, and not have them having to pay an arm and a leg for something that I know for a fact it maybe not be the greatest quality because it might be made in China apparel and stuff like that. So anyway, that being said, that's pretty much where we're at for the day. Like I said, I'll be back for Buckshot Thursday. Obviously, this coming Friday will be the 4th anniversary of the Gilbert Garlic Festival Massacre. We'll be doing a reading of names in remembrance of the people who died that day that shouldn't have died, because obviously Gavin Newsom can go fuck himself with the gun control he's put in place there. And if it wasn't for his bitch ass making that whole entire state a gun-free zone, you would have had people who protect themselves and not have a bunch of people lose their lives that day in 2019. And the same thing with Texas and Ohio, which will be next week, because you obviously got the 4th anniversary of El Paso and Dayton, whereas the people have been carrying in El Paso Walmart that day, you could have stopped that massacre from going as far as it did. And if people have been able to carry in the Oregon District and downtown Dayton, Ohio in 2019 on April 4th, you would have actually had a bunch of individuals be able to stop that son of a bitch right then and there is what it would have been. Now, granted, that might be a scenario we talk about in the future as well, for that matter, because we had that piece of shit using soft body armor. So it's like, okay, could you make the headshot is what it is kind of thing on that guy, that Antifa piece of shit. So, or technically it was it. I guess technically he was Antifa affiliated, BLM affiliated as well for that matter, but he wasn't technically. I don't think he was technically Antifa himself was what it was. He was definitely affiliated with them is what it is though. He was the old ally jackass kind of people. Just like that fucking idiot Yankee Marshall, honestly. Not saying Yankee would be, one of those things. I'm just equating like the fact that this kid was basically an ally, just like Yankees dumbass claimed to be when he got smacked in the fucking chats a few years back now. Because that's what it is, man. I always gotta laugh about that one because it was just funny. It's just funny, dude. Like, you're walking up to a bunch of fucking legitimate leftist terrorists in this country and telling them you're an ally of them, only to watch them fucking smack you across the face is what it is. So, anyway, it's like, yeah, you're just a fucking idiot, bro. David. So, anyway. Yeah, that being said, that's pretty much where we're at for the day, though. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Probably, I'm thinking right now, probably around 4, maybe, give or take, 4:30, somewhere in there, maybe. If I go any earlier than that, I'll let you know, because, again, that's a whole situation where I'm not actually sure what the fuck we're doing right now. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm about to go eat, though. So, yeah, I'll definitely be back on tomorrow afternoon. Then I'll see you guys in about probably 20 hours, give or take then. Like I said, if anybody wants to jump in the panel then, what I may end up doing is I may end up just doing a Discord thing in the future. Like, just go to NEA's Discord and just throw the fucking link in the Discord, whatever the case be like, hey, anybody wants to jump on this panel for the today or whatever, here's the link for it. And so it's the StreamYard link there. But the thing is, I don't know if I really want to do that, though, because then who's to say there's not going to be like 7 or 8 people trying to jump on at once, and we can only do 6 people is what it is. And I really don't like to have to, pick and choose who's going to be on there at any given time. But anyway, I mean, technically I could also, yank myself out of the stream and then put some other people in my place. But like, being the host, I don't really want to do that either, is what it would be, because I'd like to have ultimate control of what's being discussed and stuff like that. I'm not talking technically speaking, but like at the same time, it's just a pain in the ass. That would be another thing I wouldn't mind having the money for right now, just being the 10-person thing is what it would be then for these StreamYards and stuff like that. But then the problem would be is also it's like I feel like I don't do quite enough streams throughout the month to justify it. Like, I do just enough to where I can like break a threshold of like 20 hours depending on how long I'm doing these for. And then I might have to go to like a second account just because of that, like I'm right now. But then at the same time, it's like, is it really worth it when most of these are just me bitching is what it is, me just ranting off as it would be then. So in that case, the answer is no. So unless we would have like a guaranteed like 7-8 people on a panel or whatever the case be, that's the only reason for me to even have the money to pay out for the actual 10-person thing then. So I don't know. It is what it is. I'll think about it, honestly. Like I said, that might just be easier to just toss them out in the comment section then when it's all said and done. But other than that, that's pretty much where we're at for the day. I'm going to go eat dinner right now, and I will see you guys tomorrow. If you live in Ohio and you're still on the fence right now, please vote yes on issue 1 anytime between now and August 8th. We need to get this passed. We need to become a 60% state, just like 41 other states are, to change our state constitution. Enough is enough of allowing scumbag ass billionaires like Bloomberg, Soros, etc. to control our state when they don't even live in this fucking state. Enough is enough of allowing their proxy ass pieces of shit like Moms Demand Action and the ACLU to have any fucking say over what's put in our state constitution. And it's as simple as that. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see y'all in the next one. Have a good day. Later.